Coming up on the Geno Auriemma Show, presented by UConn Health.
I'm being asked what it feels like to be in position to win 1,000 games. There's a part of me that thinks, of course, it took you so long.
Plus, the importance of trust between teammates and the long-lasting impact it can have on a program.
Before we call timeout and when we're talking, we're figuring out either how to get you the ball or how to keep you away from the ball. And that all comes with building trust.
And lessons on what not to say to opposing coaches after a game.
Like coaches who say that all the time, like I have never, ever, ever said that to another coach after we beat them. I'd kill somebody if they said that to me.
That and much more. This is about you, Geno.
It's supposed to be about me. It's the Geno Auriemma Show.
On the Geno Auriemma Show.
Welcome to the Geno Auriemma Show, here with Coach Auriemma. And Coach, we're at a point in the schedule right now where the team has a little bit of a break for finals. Do you think that they are at, development-wise, where you thought they would be at this point?
Well, I don't think that's ever the case, you know. I don't think there's ever a time when you feel like, yeah, you know, we're exactly where we want to be. You know, we always seem to want to be further along. I don't know what the exact place you want to be is, but it always seems like you're a little bit behind. We got a lot of room to improve. We're not the brightest bulbs in the universe, for the most part. We got some work to do.
What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of the things that I want to fix are not necessarily physical, but they are physical, but they start because mentally we just, for whatever reason, and this is the case a lot of times, a lot of careless, sloppy kind of thinking that lasts too long for my taste. It's going to happen every game, I get that, but a coach's biggest challenge is always coaching the mental part of the game. And this is certainly the case with this team. You can't be running around like crazy. You've got to be really smart. Fight over those screens, okay? Don't do stuff, don't do dumb stuff, guys. Don't go flying in there and take bad shots. Go.
Has there been a pleasant surprise or a few surprises for you in the first couple months of the season?
It shouldn't be, but the way Kia is shooting the ball, I think, has been a pleasant surprise. Not that she hasn't done it in the past, but she shoots it way better in games than she does in practice. She's making everything in the games and can't seem to buy a bucket in practice. But she spends, you know, a lot of time working on it, so that's been good.
Nurse. At the 5, Dangerfield. One more time.
Crystal has been great in practice since the beginning, and she's carried that over to the games, and we really needed that going in. You know, we felt like that's really the big key to us being as good as we think we can be, is Crystal being as good as we think she can be, and that's happened. So I would say those two things probably more than anything else.
It hasn't been picture perfect either. You've had some injuries to deal with early on in the season. Do you think it's taken this team a little longer to gel because of those injuries?
Probably. The other day at DePaul, I want to say that maybe was the second game all year that Lou actually started, finished, no problems. Not having someone like that in the lineup, that really takes a lot out of your team, and having her back makes all the difference in the world. So that's been a little bit difficult, for sure. Gabby's struggles have been off and on, and that's kind of been an issue we have to work around, and that's getting better. So, yeah, it hasn't been ideal, no question about that.
What was the biggest takeaway for you from that victory over Notre Dame?
The two biggest would be that when we don't understand how to be really, really good at what we do and why, we can look pretty horrible. And I thought for long stretches of that game, nothing that we did would make you think that we're the team that everybody thinks we are. And then for 9 minutes in the fourth quarter, we were everything we think we could be. So out of that game came two really important things for us. This is how bad we can be, because we have to work at being really good. It just doesn't happen by itself. And this is how good we can be when we work at it.
We got a horrible team out here. This is a bad team right here. This is a bad team. It's a bad team.
The only team that didn't have to work at being really, really good was the 2002 team, because of so many seniors on the team and so much talent. And that team worked their brains out. And there's a reason why I think they're the best team ever. If I hear from someone one more time, wow, this could be the most talented team ever, you know, I said, did you just start following UConn women's basketball last week? Like, do you know who we've had here? What kind of teams we've had here?
Well, heading into this season and even last season when she was sitting out, you talked so much about Azaree's potential. From what we've seen so far, do you think that the rest of the country is starting to notice the type of player that she is?
Well, they're starting to notice that I don't really know what the hell I'm talking about, because I was telling everybody that, you know, other than Lou, she's probably one of the best three-point shooters on our team. I think she's won for her life here at UConn. So that part of it, I don't know where that went, because there was a point in time where she made just the opposite of what I said about Kia. She made everyone in practice and can't make one in a game. It's going to get there, don't get me wrong. The other part that's been a pleasant surprise is she's starting to embrace like what this means and what the pressure is to play here and what the expectation is to play here. And she's starting to embrace that. I think in the beginning she was afraid of it. And now you watch her play like the last quarter of the Notre Dame games, and you start to see that there are not a whole lot of players in the country that have her potential or her upside, her skill set.
What do you think goes into trying to decide, like when coaches are trying to make decisions about what they're trying to do during crucial parts of the game? How do you think coaches come to those decisions? You would be my first pick. If we could trust you to make a layup, you would be the person we need. Everything that we've seen, everything that we've experienced since you guys came to school here, and we think we have a pretty good idea of who can do what. And then we have to play the percentages and say, we think if we do this, it'll work out in our favor. Does it always? No. What were you going to do?
Attack.
And what happened? Why did you start dribbling sideways? Guys, we're trying to win a game here. Who's our best screener? That guy has to set a great screen. Who's our best three-point shooter? Who do we know cuts like a son of a and will bring defense with them? So if you want to be one of those people, then you have to earn it. You have to earn it during practice so that we have a pretty good idea as coaches, and then we trust you. You just need a guy in the middle that's willing to be a great screener, like Steph used to. If you had to win a game, everybody wants to think like, I can be that person. Absolutely everybody wants to be, but you're gonna have to prove it. And once you do, then we know we can trust you. Go. We don't sit there during the timeout and go, well, we like that kid, but we don't like that kid. It ain't about like we like you or don't like you. We're trying to figure out when we really need a play, who do we trust? You want to be one of those people? Then you have to earn that trust from us. Simple.
So we're coming off of a Geno Wired segment where you talked about trust and you talked to the team about trust. How important is it not only that the coaching staff trust the players, but the players trust each other?
I don't know that any group, any team can function if it's not based on that. I really don't. If you're going to go out and you're going to put a lot of pressure on the basketball, you have to trust that your teammates are going to be there in case you get beat. You have to trust that somebody's going to take a charge, somebody's going to step in the passing lane, somebody's going to block a shot. That has to exist. If you don't believe that, if the people behind you aren't trustworthy, then you won't go out and pressure the ball. It's that simple.
How long does it take you to trust your underclassmen, especially those freshmen?
Most freshmen, how long does it take? It depends on them. I think how they come in, how they carry themselves, how they act. Took me like 5 minutes to trust Diana or Maya Moore or Jen Rosati or
Okay, how about your average freshman? Because those are some big names.
But that's what I'm saying. The average freshman, you can't trust them. But that's normal. So it's easy to say, well, some of those guys I just mentioned, yeah, you can trust them right away because they get it right away. Most freshmen don't. You know, what's our trust level now as a staff for this current crop of freshmen? Well, how much do they play?
Some minutes here and there. Megan Walker has gotten the most.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep, she has. I think Meg's one of those players that has, she has a tremendous upside, you know? She has great natural ability. The thing that I try to impress upon freshmen is you have to really learn how to read the landscape. Megan views herself as a scorer, as a shooter, as a scorer, as someone who can put points on the board because that's what she's done her whole life. And now you get here and I'm trying to coach everything but that part because we have 4 players on our team that have scored over 1,000 points in their career. Do you really think you can shoot your way into our lineup? So you figure, how do I get a lot of minutes in our lineup? Well, I got to be willing to do some of the other things if I want an opportunity to score. Is that right or wrong? I don't know. That's just the way I am. And I think that's what makes you a better player down the road. The sooner you learn that, the better. And a little bit at a time, she's getting there. The mentality has to be, we play 5-on-5 and we play together and we help each other get shots. That we don't just work hard to get our own shots. When you're open, you shoot it. And when you're not, you don't. Who says you got to shoot the ball to help our team win? It's a 4-year battle with some players because their whole identity is wrapped up in scoring. That's ingrained in them from a young age. You have 2 choices when you're a coach. You can really harp on those things and try to make players better, or you could just do what a lot of coaches in the country have already done. Just give in to them and just change your defense or just change the way you operate and go, okay, they win. So we're just going to not worry about being a good defensive team. We're not going to do the things we used to do. We're going to acquiesce to them and let them dictate to us what we're going to do. Why? Because it actually makes sense. I'm not smart enough to realize that. I'm still old-fashioned that I want them to do certain things that my players did 25 years ago. And a lot of common sense dictates in today's day and age, why bother? They don't want to, so why bother? They're not equipped to do it, so why bother? Well, I'm going to bother. What can happen on our team is guys don't want or don't know how, okay, or aren't going to learn how to play together. Because all you're thinking of is, when I get it, I want to try to score. That's the stuff you do when you don't trust anybody else on your team to make a shot. It's a challenge, but it's always been a challenge. Always. It's always been a challenge. It's just that there's such a premium now put on on kids who score, and their life is about scoring. And their parents' lives is about scoring. I had a kid tell me a couple years ago on our team, Coach, I find myself checking the scoreboard to see how many points I have because I know my parents are going to ask me about it. We're number one in the country. That's the world. That's the world that we're in. You know the worst thing that a coach can say to you after they kick your ass? Yo, tough one, man. Great job. Your kids play really hard. Shut up. That's a compliment? They're supposed to play hard. They're supposed to play hard. Yeah, we suck at everything else, but you know what? We play hard. Shut up. Like coaches who say that all the time, like I have never, ever, ever said that to another coach after we beat them. Tough one, man. But I tell you what, I got to give it to your kids. They play really hard. Really? It's embarrassing.
Great job, man. Good luck this year. Thanks.
Sometimes I just feel bad because there's nothing they could have done about it. And I just tell them flat out, look, the way we shot the ball tonight, I'm not sure there's anything you could have done about it. Good luck, next week.
Again, guys. Again.
Or, hey, you know that kid? I want that kid on my team. Or something other than, your kids play really hard, man. Stay with it. I'd kill somebody if they said that to me.
So we save this question till the end because sometimes you don't like to talk about your personal achievements. But as we sit here today, you're about to close in on a major milestone, 1,000 wins at Connecticut. What do you have to say about that?
What's the right thing to say? What's the wrong thing to say? What's the appropriate thing to say?
What do you want to say?
I really don't want to say anything about it. Because have you ever listened to people talk about these kinds of things? I thought about something the other day when it was brought up, and it was more of so many people that I know that started coaching when I started 30-some years ago, and they never had an opportunity to coach anywhere near 1,000 games. And now I'm being asked what it feels like to be in position to win 1,000 games. It's mind-boggling, it really is. It's something that defies any kind of explanation or description. I don't know what to say. These are things that are best left to other people to say.
Someone on Facebook posed an interesting question. They asked if win 1 feels any different as you look back to what win 1,000 will feel like.
I can remember win 1 like it was yesterday. I'm glad the rules were different back then because I got 2 technicals in that game and I didn't get thrown out because you could get 2 and not get thrown out. That's how animated and anxious I was to get my first win as a head coach. So yeah, will 1,000 feel the same as number 1? No, it won't.
Better?
Different.
Different.
It'll be different.
It'll be different.
Win number 1,000 in the legendary career of Geno Auriemma.
We gave everything we had to this. We try not to leave anything on the table. We poured our heart and soul into this. And we've gotten more back than we ever deserved. So thank you all very much.
Maybe that's what the 1,000 wins is supposed to represent, all the milestones along the way that led to it. I don't think anything could ever match our first Big East championship. That was amazing, even to this day. And that doesn't even compare to our first Final Four. I thought that was the greatest thing that could ever happen to my coaching career. And that pales to what happened 4 years later when we won our first national championship. So all along the way, you know, and I thought, wow, how does it get better than this? We have, you know, 5 or 6 national championships. That's nothing compared to winning a gold medal in the Olympics. So there's just been so many things that you look back and you go, all these things were happening, and never once during all that time was it, yeah, but don't worry about it. These are all just build-ups to 1,000. No, I just appreciated all those things along the way. Whenever I think about these things, I look at the wall when I go to practice and I go, oh, look at that. Look who's played here. What took you so long to win 1,000 games? Look at them all. If you were to name the 20, 25, 30 greatest players in the history of women's college basketball, 10 of them are probably sitting up on that wall. So there's a part of me that thinks, of course. It took you so long.
It's got to feel pretty good.
Does feel good. Does feel good.